Hey guys, I'm Kevin and welcome to New World Carpentry Solutions. Alright, so if you guys have enjoyed my custom bench build up to this point, the next thing that we need to do is actually make these adjustable, or at least the height actually adjustable. The whole purpose of this bench mobile base build that I've done so far is so I can actually raise my bench tops to meet any one of the work surfaces inside of my shop. If you guys haven't noticed by watching my videos, I'm extremely tall, and my comfortable workbench height is probably about 32 to 33.5 inches. I end up getting these ones to about 34 inches, which is slightly over what I really wanted, at 32. But they are raisable, so they can meet any of my other benches, being my outfeed table, my bandsaw, or any of my other taller tools. And how we're going to achieve that is by assembling the lifting mechanism, and it's pretty simple to do. We're going to be using a car jack on one of the scissor style ones. This one I bought off of Amazon because this bench is wider. My narrower bench just used a standard car jack, and essentially what I'm doing now is building a platform or a base that's going to fit underneath the cabinet that's going to hold the jack. It's essentially just a piece of 3/4 inch plywood. I could have gone with a solid panel, but saving on plywood, these are like 4 or 5 inch strips, and I'm going to attach that to the piece of wood right here. That piece of wood is going to be what's actually mounted to the jack, and then everything's going to get flipped over. It's currently upside down right now. One thing that is important though is that you want to make sure that the bottom portions of your plywood are perfectly flush with where the wood that you're going to attach to the top side of your jack. If you see that 2x4 there, that is going to end up being perfectly flush with my 1/2 inch plywood. It's a little bit tricky, but trying to get all that lined up is why I actually have it flipped upside down, so I can make sure that these pieces of plywood are perfectly in line with that 2x4. So when I do all my cutting out that you guys are going to see me do a little bit later, it'll make a lot more sense. But right now, we're just going to assemble the base, plywood, a platform for your jack, and then you want to cut this plywood though to the proper distance or height to slide up underneath your bench. I'm gonna join back with you guys after we have this assembly assembled, and then we're gonna start installing it underneath the actual cabinet. The next step, now that you have your assembly assembled, is to actually slide it up underneath your actual mobile base. But again, you have to keep in mind that it's going to be a little bit snug because that 2x4 is going to actually be sitting a little bit prouder. It's going to be pushing up your 1/2 inch plywood. But I'm actually going to slide it underneath so I can get the markings for where I actually need to cut out so I can actually have clearance. The cutouts will be something I do in the very next portion of this video, which will kind of explain what I'm trying to do. With the jack all the way lowered, the 2x4 is able to be recessed underneath the actual mobile base, but eventually that needs to have clearance to raise all the way up through that 1/2 inch piece of plywood and attach to my actual bench top. You can actually do a larger cutout if you want to throw like a piece of plywood, which is something I probably will do just to kind of help the bench be a little bit more stable as it raises and lowers. Again, you guys will kind of see how all that comes together after this next little portion. And just like that, we're entering into the next phase. We have the top section already cut out, and the reason for this cutout is so the jack can actually raise completely through the top side of that 1/2 inch plywood and engage with the bottom side of our bench. Again, the 2x4 was just material that I had laying around. I still haven't changed it yet, but I very well could cut out a larger cutout in that center section and throw a piece of plywood that way actually go end to end on my workbench, which would probably have it lift a little bit more even. I do have guides that are actually running inside the hollow portions of the legs that are just like 2x2s that are milled down out of a 2x4, and it's essentially just a U shape. You might be able to see it right there on the corner. That is actually just going to be a guide. You'll see a little bit better when I actually go to raise up the bench with the bench and everything else attached. You see how those guys kind of slide in and out of the hollow moderate folded legs and why I did that. But again, it does like to teeter a little bit left or right. So I probably will either add a dowel system and or a knob and screw system to kind of lock the legs or lock the bench into a proper height after it's been raised. It won't drop because the jack has plenty of holding capacity, but the bench does have the ability to tip because the jack doesn't really have a way to balance itself, if you guys can kind of understand what I'm saying. But what we're going to do now that we already have our center section cut out is go ahead and mount our jack now permanently inside the bottom of the bench. Go ahead and use pocket screws, staple gun, and get everything mounted, and then I'll join you guys back once we have it all situated in there. You guys will see me do like a test lift or two and also throw the bench on top, and then you guys I'll join you guys after we get to that point. All right, so we finally have the bench itself lifting, and what I did to actually attach it was just drive some cabinet head screws from the bottom of the bench top into that 2x4, and now it's able to lift, but again, it does like to lean left or right. We do have those guys that are actually mounted inside of the miter folded legs, so my next step is to actually drive some screws from the bench top down into those runners or those guides. And again, only thing those guys are going to do is keep one side from raising too much more than the other, but it still does allow it to rack just a little bit. You guys will be able to see how that kind of operates in just a moment. And my fix for that will be either to again replace that 2x4 with a larger piece of plywood, and or probably add again either a dowel and or a knob system. So once it raises up to, let's say, 36 inches, 38 inches, and have presets with dowels that I kind of just throw into the legs. Or I might just again have a knob system. Once it's raised up to whatever height I want, use a knob on each one of the legs to kind of crank down on it so it can't give any. But we're going to go ahead and get this screwed off, and I'll show you guys what it looks like once we get there. And just like that, we have finally completed the adjustable mobile Ron Palk style workbench. We have two inside the shop. This one is actually one of my favorites because it is also expandable, so I can make it longer than my other one. But the smaller one has the ability to actually slide down all the alleys inside the shop. And because they all have adjustable heights, these could be the in feed for my table saw, the same way I use my thickness planer. They can be in feed or out feed for my bandsaw, my drill press, and again, any other project inside the shop. And if I'm building something that I need to raise up just a little bit higher, I have the ability to. It's really awesome. I think this is a project that everybody should add inside their shop, even if it's just one of these. But having a pair is really, really awesome. But I really hope that you guys have enjoyed this entire build, the process, and definitely let me know what you guys think down below. If you guys have enjoyed everything, though, please leave me a like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll be seeing you guys in the next one. Peace.